Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Wrestling for My Life, the legend, the reality, and the faith of a WWE superstar by Shawn Michaels with David Thomas. And I've been a huge pro wrestling fan for a huge part of my life ever since like 8th grade. And my wife knows how much I love Shawn Michaels and how much I'm a big fan. He's one of my favorite pro wrestlers. She bought me this book for Christmas. And an important thing to realize before reading this book is to realize that this is a faith-based book. It is rooted in faith. The structure of how Shawn Michaels tells this story is the tenements of his faith. And that's how the chapters are structured. This is not a linear biography. I've read his other book, which was much more a linear biography, and I guess I could appreciate how this is different than that. I've also seen the documentaries in the past that were made, the same documentary around what that book was written about as well. So I know a lot about Shawn Michaels' life, but this reframing of it all through the lens of his newfound Christianity and his faith and how important that is, how he's made decisions that maybe adversely affected him financially in his career because of his faith and his commitment to it, keeping his Bible studies, keeping his his marital contracts that he has with his wife, and his parental contracts that he developed with his kids, his promises, this life that he lives. And I feel like this book is really well written. I think Shawn Michaels is able to articulate his faith in a meaningful and impactful kind of way, citing certain verses and really trying to get you to understand the motivations behind what he does in terms of his faith. But then he pulls stories from his career, like him rekindling a relationship with Bret Hart all those years after the Montreal Screwjob, him dealing with lying and pornography earlier in his marriage with his wife and what potentially could have happened there, his dynamic with Vince, his big decisions that he had to make when they wanted to move him to SmackDown, and how that would change the life he made with his family outside of wrestling in order to keep the money that he was making in that kind of commitment. His own struggles with others of faith, where like that whole entire feud where he tag teamed with God against Vince McMahon and Shane McMahon, absurd, one of the craziest things that I've seen in pro wrestling. But also him taking a step, like using the word like damn in a promo, and people in his church having a backlash to that, and Shawn struggling with that and processing that challenge. And if you want to find a book that is really deeply rooted in faith, this is something really worth reading. There's so much depth to it, and he brings that faith and the struggles of faith in the world of being a celebrity, but not only being a celebrity, but being a professional wrestler that challenges so many moral things in so many ways, with violence and all kinds of vulgarity. But his dynamics, his perspectives are so interesting in how he processes these things. It's very raw and very personal, and we can connect with it and feel engaged with it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that this particular book has going for it, is that we can connect with Shawn Michaels. We can understand where he's coming from, even if we don't feel that faith. And I mentioned this in my Nick Foles book review, but like I would consider myself agnostic at this point. And the faith-based stuff could be a lot for somebody that doesn't believe, somebody who's not rooted in their own faith. But I do think that it is inspiring, the commitment, the drive that he has, and the priorities that he creates for himself with his life that are inspiring and relatable and something we could look up to. And I do feel like this journey is worth your time. It's a relatively small book. It's not a big investment, and it has an engaging voice because Shawn Michaels has a lot of personality. And in the end, I feel like you can learn a lot from somebody else's perspective on how they have faith and see the world. And maybe even if you don't believe or it's never going to change your mind, but being able to see those different perspectives adds growth and layers to you as a person, and I feel like I felt that reading this book. But those are my thoughts on Wrestling with My Life by Shawn Michaels. Let me know what you think and let's talk some books. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.